Well, I wasn't ready, and I was clicking and clicking and clicking, and
Not over.
but
She
we're here.
can't.
I know.
If she can't start over there, we live.
I know. I see 40 seconds. We're as live as the questions we're getting.
So welcome you guys to Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson, and today is my first time using I think it's StreamYard to stream on multiple platforms. So I accidentally hit the go live button and here we are, but whatever. So we were kind of reviewing some of the questions that were submitted by you guys. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to delve into the conversation because this one seems to be the one question that's causing and wreaking all the havoc and the fallout from this guy making this comment. And we were having some discussions about maybe there being a way that you can see that the comment itself, the question itself being posed in a group of individuals that are considered to be professionals or whatever. Maybe there is a way you can see this as misogynistic. And so I'm going to let them go ahead and jump in and make their intros of self first. Of course, all of you know me as I'm Dr. Jefferson. And I'm a psychotherapist. So I will let Sue and our official urban therapist over here make their introductions of their platforms and so forth before we jump into it.
Well, hello, I'm Susanna Stone. I am a licensed clinical social worker in the state of Georgia. I have a private practice. My specialty is addiction and trauma. And my goal is just basically to support and help people be the best that they can be. You know, what I say is, as therapists, right? If we cultivate the roots, the branches and the leaves will take care of themselves. So that's where I work. That's where I work with. It's great to be here, Dr. Jefferson. Thanks for having me on with you. I always love being part of what you do, and I appreciate it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Robert Washington. I'm known as the official urban therapist. My channel is on Facebook as well as YouTube as well. I am a third going on fourth year student who's also studying clinical psychology as well to be hope as a psychotherapist as well.
Awesomeness. And you know what? That's going to actually cover one of the questions that we got. Hey, Mario, if you can see the stream on Facebook, share it for me. Let me see. How do I do this? Look, I'm figuring this out.
He says hello. He sees you.
Figuring this out, okay? So if you guys can like and share the content as you come in so that we can have a collaborative conversation. I'm 100% okay with other people joining in on the conversation, also joining in on the live stream. So, you know, I'll click you guys in and out as you see fit. If there's a particular question that you would like to answer on the screen or without video, audio, etc. So just let me know kind of, you know, who wants to go in by clicking that streaming link that I have included at the end of the description. So without further ado, I'm going to delve into this conversation. So do you guys want to take that question first and talk about it first? Or would you rather ease into that?
Let's say that for last, because that's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So we will go down and we'll look at some of these other ones. Let me see. Oh man, that one's going to be a loaded one too, I think. So as you guys see the questions come up across the screen, if you guys have something that you would like to talk about, something that definitely kind of triggers you to say and share your experiences or to share your insights about the topic, definitely let me know. but we're going to go through and we're going to pick a question and then we'll roll through. That's the one I said you fit in. So let's talk about this one first. Why do so many people self-diagnose and nobody is going to anyone's school? On the internet. Hello.
Ladies always first.
Oh, Jess could go first. That's okay. You're the king tonight.
I don't know. This one is an interesting one. I feel like a lot of people have access to a lot of social media. A lot of people have a lot of content on social media. A lot of professionals that are content creators as well now. We kind of walk in those simultaneous roles. And I feel like some of us put a lot of information out there. And so when you put so much information out there, sometimes, and you got to understand the way we do this thing, right? We are all pretty general in the way that we render this information to our following. And we do that in a general way because we want to kind of give you a general consensus of when you need to step in or when you need to pick up the phone and call for help yourself. So we're not giving you everything that you need to make what we call a differential diagnosis. No, we're just giving you the basic diagnostic criteria that makes a particular situation clinically relevant. And I think that people have to understand that piece. I feel like sometimes that's hard for people to understand when they're just out here trying to make sense of it all.
Well, I think when you in pain, the need is to want to fix it right away. And what you're seeing today is, there's a lot of books out, self-help books. There's a lot of, if you have these symptoms and you've got this then you've got this illness, you've got this diagnosis. So people could go up online and find that out and say, oh, that's me. And with the criteria of what, depression, if you have these symptoms and you're depressed, and these are the way you fix it. So people just say, well, why do I need to go see a therapist? Why do I need to go to a group? Why do I need to if it's already online? Without realizing that the work that you do to address the issue you having takes a lot more than just these symptoms and these fix-it coping skills. But people, when you're in pain, you want help right away. Therapy takes a while. Coaching takes a while. And a while means might be years, not just months. And if stuff is not okay, you want it done, fixed right away. And you're getting the opportunity when you go online. Some of it is misleading. But you're right. It's really not all that there is. It's just a framework for understanding what are some of the ways, some of the illnesses or some of the way people are feeling. Just take a look at it. But no, if you fit those symptoms, then you might want to talk to somebody else, more professional, not just follow the list, and then you'll be okay.
And not just go around self-diagnosing everybody, right?
Right.
Well, we could examine this in different ways. First of all, we could examine it as a person actually being a patient themselves, trying to self-diagnose them. Now, once again, we all agree that we're in the age of information where the internet has everything readily available for anybody. So if you want to know anything, you could find out about it on the internet pretty much. You could do a quick Wikipedia search, or if you want to do a scholarly search, you could go to Google Scholar as well, get a scholar perspective about it, and all this different information that's readily available for people. So since they're getting this information, some people feel that it won't be as relevant for them to actually see a professional when they could do it on their own. Another reason why they could do this is because of cost efficiency, because unfortunately through our practice, it do cost money. And sometimes people either don't have the money, or they may not even have the one medical insurance to even cover a section as well. So some people, they just opt to do that as well.
I feel like you're definitely spot on with that. And I feel like also another thing that we have to kind of consider is the fact that we as individuals sometimes have a problem with um accepting feedback from other people. And when that feedback that other people give us isn't what we're expecting, if that's not what we want from them, we have a tendency to name call. And I do feel like when a lot of these people are saying, oh, these people are narcissists, and you know what I mean, those types of things, that word gets thrown around so often, and none of these people are clinicians, and even the clinicians that do exercise that same type of behavior, because we are not outside of being human, right? Even those who exercise that type of behavior, they're not qualified to diagnose a narcissist because they haven't done the work, they haven't done the specialty training, any of that, to really be able to identify what it is that they're dealing with when they're dealing with it. And so many, it's so many layers to that. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I think that you guys made some good points. So
yeah, that's where the education part is important, because like I stated earlier, a lot of information is readily available on the internet, but there's certain things that you can only find in an institution or higher learning. You can only find that information there, and that's where you actually learn your craft. Like for example, like say for example, I want to be a carpenter, right? I could look on YouTube videos about being a carpenter all day long, and I could acquire basic skills to be a carpenter. But if I want to perfect my craft, then yeah, I got to go to a carpenter school to perfect my craft. Likewise, where we have these, as we say, self-help gurus that's readily on there. If they're looking to really make a difference, especially in our communities, they'll have to perfect their craft, and perfect their craft doesn't just mean you just write a self-help book, but actually going into the wherever field of practice and going to that higher learning to learn your craft.
So do you think that a lot of people, I know that when we talked about this a little bit earlier, we mentioned the people lacking the resources to go to school, finances to go to school, and things like that. But do you think that when these people are going down this road and they're doing these self-diagnostics and they're looking and they're doing their research and things, do you think it's with the intent of expanding and one day kind of going into the career? Or do you think that it's just because they want a quick solution? They're looking for a quick answer.
Well, I believe that that's really depends on the personal intent. Some people they may doing it just for a quick fix, like it's a drug. Other people really do want to figure out things and practice this type of thing to really make a difference. Not only with themselves but in the community. But once again, this depends on the individual.
And it depends on the environment, and some folks have family members, friends that they've noticed something different about them, so they want to read up about it. They want to kind of learn because they probably want to help, and then it's like, oh, I found this stuff that kind of describes what you're talking about or what you want to do, whatever. Maybe it sounds good. I may want to do it too, and that could lead to people wanting to learn some more, because I think the piece that gets missed out of information on the news and in the media and stuff is really what it takes to do what you got to do, which is what you were just talking about. Like you get quick answers, but in the reality, it doesn't really talk about the kind of work you have to do to get to where you are experienced enough and or professional enough or an expert enough to talk about what it is. So, but folks sometimes don't realize that there's that big piece or how intense that is. In our work, it is a whole lot more intense than these symptoms and this fix it coping skills. It's a lot more than that. And if you're not interested or looking to want to know how to do the work in detail, then you miss a piece of it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you also miss other factors that could be a contributing component to another diagnosis too.
That's right.
Yeah, that's true. I agree.
And then you don't real, and if you agree, if you into this work, you'd realize that a lot of different diagnoses have similar symptoms. So how do you have to learn how to differentiate, and you wouldn't know that unless you had formal education in understanding that. So the symptoms. So what you're labeling yourself may not be what's really going on with you, because you just don't know that there are many different diagnoses that could fit the symptoms you think you have.
Well, they actually go back to what I was saying earlier about having the internet readily available. Now, the internet, once again, it has basic information. Like for example, we since this is Dr. J favorite word, narcissism. Let's bring it up. A lot of people know the meaning of narcissism, but they don't know the process that you need to go to cure a person who's narcissistic, or even further examine the behavior of a narcissistic person. That's where the higher level comes into play, where the higher level of education that teach you skills that you need to deal with that, versus a person who just went on Wikipedia and just give you just a basic foundation that's in it. You don't know how to deal with it. Heck, you probably be that narcissistic person that you're trying to prognose or diagnose, and you don't even know.
Exactly. I agree. And the thing is, like for me, I'm a systemic practitioner. So we separate the person from the diagnosis, because their diagnosis, and people who are struggling with narcissistic personality disorder aren't any lesser or more than other people. So for me, in treating them, just because that's what I specialize in, I don't go in with the mindset of I know everything, even though I know a lot about the disorder. I know a lot about how it presents, and I am the expert in the process. But I know that, and I give them the credit of knowing and being the expert in their life experience.
Right.
When you combine those two together, you can help them achieve a greater level of functioning simply by addressing some issues that they have looked over, which led to those types of characteristics being adapted as a means of coping. And you can help them recognize when these things are coming up for them, so that they can move them out of the way and they can be their best version of themselves. And that's when the healing component comes into place. When we're more cognizant of our processes that lead us into these places where we operate out of insecurity or fear instead of certainty and, love and compassion and that kind of thing. So I think there are a lot of moving pieces today. It's a lot of moving pieces to treating people that are struggling with narcissistic personality disorder and personality disorders in general. So, but I think that when we're properly booted, and you've been doing this, a certain tenure will help you to attain the knowledge and the understanding of how that really looks and what that really looks like in a society where the vast majority of the characteristics that make it clinically significant for the disorder are just characteristics of the society we live in, because that's the contraindication of a diagnosis all in of itself. So you have to be very, very careful when you're treading with these diagnoses, because they all are very, it's hard to gauge. Let's put it like that. It's really hard to gauge. Yeah.
And it's not just that's not the person. There's more to the person than that.
Yes.
We develop a little cookbook to kind of understand behavior, but it's a person that you're dealing with. And people can change, and people can learn different skills, and they can kind of minimize the one that has an effect, have a negative effect on their life and other people's life.
And they can minimize the people sometimes. Sometimes minimizing the people that are in your life, your life sometimes mitigates the behavior as well. So I would say that that's a huge component here too. So we're gonna go to this next question. Why do women in the Black community choose men who make less than them and then crucify the men?
Yeah, y'all answer that one. Choir moms want to know.
I want to know too. Wow. Well, be interested to know the age groups. I don't know. It'd be interesting. because at my age, I don't. That is never. That's never been something that I've choose men based on the income, so that I could dump my stuff on them. It's just never been. So
I agree. I think that sometimes I don't know. Like I've had a lot of clients. I do relationship counseling, so oh man, I've seen a lot of stuff. I can't think of many cases where I've seen a woman select a man just based off of the fact that he made less money than her. Now, I have seen several cases where she selected a man that made more money than her. And then when that said man got fired, okay. we got some problems, Houston. But yeah, I've seen those cases over and over and over and over again. But I've never seen a woman intentionally select a suitor because he made less money than her. If you guys have something else different to share, feel free to join in. Iris, are you joining in for this question, or is there a different question? I'll add you on and you can let us know which question you want to answer. But that's where I am. You know.
Yep. Hi.
How are you?
Hello. Welcome.
How are you?
Good. We're doing good.
Good.
Glad you can make it.
Am I making you hot? Can I put my finger in your ass?
What?
Are you stroking your cock?
Oh my God. Really?
Are you thick like a can of soup?
I have.
That's not the question we have.
Pull out your testicles.
I think we can move on.
Okay. Yeah. Look, you guys know that I'm in the process of figuring out how to move this stuff.
Well, this is kind of the stuff we're talking about, right? This is what you see somebody.
Yep. Somebody just wanted their 5 seconds of fame, so we gave them 5 seconds, so that was it.
It took me 5 seconds to remove them. Gosh,
yeah.
I'm slow on it. That's okay. I know how to do it now, y'all.
And people be provocative. That in itself is worth a discussion. Like, why would you call on a talk show and want to be so provocative? What is that? That's synonymous to wanting to find a man who makes less than you and then crucify him. That's an example. Thank you for coming up and pointing that out.
Yep. You're becoming our guinea pig.
Right.
Appreciate your support on that one.
Well,
your contribution.
I feel like Iris had a question, and Iris said a lot of things, but let me tell you,
we didn't hear them.
But I just feel like some people have the need to distract other people so that they can kind of get attention, because sometimes they don't get the attention that they need in their inner circle. So we also have to kind of look at that. Like people that are struggling with sexual disorders and stuff like that is no joke. Okay. No joke. It's really hard, and I really feel bad for them. It's rough. But I hope that person gets the help that they need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Our therapist getting shout outs over here.
Oh yeah, that's my boy, Money Boy. What's up, boy? What up?
Thank you, Mario. And as you guys are coming in, don't forget to share the content. And tell us how you guys feel, if anybody is offended by what Iris just posted. And I'm saying that because when we get on this next question,
I'm gonna go ahead and address this question too. I'm
waiting
on y'all.
Okay, yeah. We're still on the other question. Okay, put it back up.
No, I'm talking about this current question, not the other one.
I question
the why women select,
why women crucify. Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm gonna let you go on with that one before, because I'm I want people to, but I do want people to share with me if they're offended by what Iris posted. Said it was a female. I'm guessing.
Well, this particular question, you see this more common, more in the uh, um, I'm gonna be unfair with it. All right? This gonna be less. This more common in the poor population. All right, where women they're more considered as the breadwinner, and the guys in the community, they're not breadwinners. These are the ones who sit at the house. They're the ones who lazy, be playing the PlayStation, don't even trying to get a job. And so this situation, it evolves around the woman being more of the man mother than allow him to be a man. Then she put when they say she crucified the man, they're saying because she the one who's bickering at him all the time. You ain't no good. You need to get a job. You need to do this. Blah 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 blah. The bickering with him and stuff. But they the one who choose the man in this behavior. So that's what this particular question is talking about in that aspect. Now, the answer to the question is simply because this is the exact type of man that you choose to be with. The behavior behind it is that deep down inside you want to have a man, instead of the man being a man, you want the man to be your child, and you want to, in a way, control that man. So
you mean like learned behavior, like they've learned this behavior somewhere?
Absolutely.
Do you feel like, because you made a couple of points, and I feel like you touched on a lot of stuff there. And so what I wanted to kind of expand on a little bit is the piece where the commenter, God, where is he? He commented about it being about power. And you talked about the woman having a selection. And so I want to expand on that, because I talk about that often. And I think that when I was featured on yours, we kind of got on that conversation. We had, sidebars. But the thing is, I think it boils down to gender roles or position roles in relationships.
Absolutely.
I don't say gender roles simply because I know that some people are male and male and some are female and female in a relationship. So I'm going to use the term position roles because, of the LGBTQI community, et cetera, and also for alternative lifestyle living communities. So even where you see polyamorous relationships developing and other monogamous and non-monogamous relationships developing in people, the big thing is some people have the position of the choosing, right? Or the receiving. And then some people have the position of the searching or the discovery or the finding. And so the dominant person, which is considered to be the lead or figurative head of whatever system they're building, has the responsibility of the finding, the searching, you understand, the hunting, and gathering, so to say. And the women, which are typically the people who are selecting, those people that have that position, they have that position because they're supposed to be able to gravitate or notice when they're gravitating towards what makes them stronger, what makes their system or their ideal system complete. And they're supposed to be already rooted, booted, and suited to submit properly to the right authority once the right authority approaches them. So they're supposed to know who to receive or how to select. And I think it boils down to a lack of gender roles being conditioned in today's society. So we don't have that in the way that we used to anymore. And as a result of that breakdown, the Black community struggles the most. If you kind of look at it over the course of time, at no point, and we talk about how the Black community of women always are crucifying the men. We have those conversations, and it's okay for us to talk about that. But
absolutely.
But when people have the conversation about men like what's that guy name? Tommy Sotomayor, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and Kevin Samuels and Derek Jackson. They're all in the same system of womanizers. They just are. And I feel like when we try to have that conversation, that narrative gets pushed to the side simply because it's Black women making these statements about Black men in a society where Black women have crucified, stepped on the necks of, and hurt, the basic character and the fabric of the being of these Black men for centuries, right? And so it's either by their words or their actions that these things have taken place. And nobody has said anything. They okayed them, right? But a lot of that is because a lot of those types of Black men responded in a different way. If you look within the Hispanic community, if you look within the African community, if you look outside of American culture, you look in the Caribbean community, what you notice is a man looks a lot different over there. They operate in these same types of societies where their women are mouthy, but they respond in a different way. They're not going to crucify their women. They're not going to belittle their women. They're not going to defame their women openly without a shitload of support, right? Because they're really looking to just walk away because they feel like the women have a lesser than value to be heard in the beginning in those conversations. So my thing is, I feel like sometimes, and as a woman, coming from a woman, sometimes the man has to know when to walk away, when to get the hell out of the way, because that woman talking things that I don't want to hear got the type of energy that I don't need. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Right. And just disregard her, put those things to the side, because at the end of the day, you as the leader, right? Have to be the change that you want to see. If you want to see her behave differently, all you got to do is move differently. Because who is she going to argue with? Who is she going to argue with? I want to know. Like, you walk off from her ass. Who is she arguing with? You're by yourself.
Right. Because I mean, I always talk about, like, my culture is West Indian. I've lived here a long time, but I maintain my culture. And there's a structure for men and for women, which actually keeps the equilibrium in relationships. Like, woman has a role, men has a role, and they join. It's not about he has a role, she has a role, and they're two separate. It's designed to join together and create some unity. So there's a difference in how they relate, and that doesn't mean there aren't scuffles in relationships or people disagree and stuff. But there's a level of the way you were trained and you grew up and the expectation for a man and a woman, which makes it very, very different to how this looks up here. I mean, I look at that. I'm like, well, this is not what I grew up with. This is not how I learned how to be a female and how to be ready for a male. Because I was like, well, that's not, I'm just, and so that's how I live my life today. Like, I know, I understand what it means to surrender to a man.
Right.
I'm not giving up my soul because I'm surrendering. I'm joining. Surrendering and joining. It's not you're losing who you are. And I think this is a culture where and I'll go there. I see slavery was about the woman who had to, the one who had to step up because the men had to be silent or else he would be removed.
Yep.
So, and this continues today, except that the women are now angry today.
I do.
They're angry.
I do agree. And I feel like there are so many pieces to that. Because, like, the thing is, you had honorable Black men, right, that came up after slavery ended. That came up and were very successful. Like, I talk about the establishment and the successes of Black Wall Street. It didn't happen with women being mouthy, out of place, and men insecure. It happened with Black men knowing how to lead, and that this was now their time, having that belief, having that internal compass that said that I'm the man and you need to sit your ass down. Look, you gotta, I feel like
That's a West Indian man, by the way. And then she sits down. And
you're
it's
right.
okay.
Right. Because let me tell you something. I know a lot of guys think, and I think one of the comments were that, what did he say? Let me see if I can find it.
Arabs and Chinese beat their woman.
Let me go ahead and address this, Doctor.
Go ahead.
Now, Moneyball. Now, what she was talking about in her response is that she was talking about a technique known as disengaging and revisiting later. So let's say for example, you're having a heated argument where you get ready to have a heated argument with your significant other. Instead of you trying to prove your point, a person have to be the bigger person to learn to just walk away from it. Walk away doesn't mean that you're weak or anything like that. What it means is that you're disengaging from that because nothing's been accomplished by the discussion. So you walk away from it. Then later on, when things be cool, calm, and collected, you go and revisit it again. And when y'all go back and revisit again, if there are resolved to it, fine. If there is not a type of resolve for both persons, then what's going to happen is that the whole conversation finally have to be totally disengaged, and you have to accept where that person is at, and also accept that you cannot control each other, period.
And I call that 3 keys to effective conflict communication and resolution. So the thing is, when you have to first know that it's safe. So what has to happen is, and I tell people all the time, like, these are not things that you do on your own. These are things you go to therapists, because essentially we're the ones that are, we didn't just spend all this lifetime of education, to just
and money.
Like, nobody's a whole doctor out here in this street, so that we can just sit on our ass and not help people that are in need of the help. So essentially, you have to think about it in a pragmatic way. You have to be taught those skills, and that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people have not been taught those skills, and we have to hold ourselves accountable as a culture for not doing the work. And as a result of holding ourselves accountable, make a commitment to do something different. And that commitment to do something different means looking to the future and not to past experiences to gauge where we will be in our future, because we're on a continuum that moves forward and not backward. So you have to look to what it is that you will become. And I think a person asked about data. So the cultures that I've named are the cultures that I've lived in, that I've lived in for several years. And also my background and my heritage. I know I'm right. People look at me and they're like, "Oh, she's a Black woman." Yeah, no, I'm Hispanic, and Sue is West Indian. So
I'm Spanish,
right? So I was raised in Finland, not in America. But I think that when you know the backgrounds of people and you know where they come from, and we have these now experiences where we're looking at what's different in the ages, as we revisit our homes and we come back to America, we make these comparative analyses and things like that. We're not looking at just our own experiences, but also the exposures, and also from a clinical standpoint, when we talk about cultural competency, we've definitely visited and go engaged with different cultures to give them and render the same level of help that we do here. So, and I was a medical doctor first. So when I was in these different countries, I was studying from abroad at that point, watching people, their interactions and things like that. And that's what kind of made me curious about the human experience and psychotherapy. So I think that sometimes your exposures due to where your path is going to take you, and you have to follow.
And part of the work of doing therapy is not giving answers to our clients. Our clients teaches us about them.
Yeah.
So we don't. And even if you're an African American clinician and that's your population you want to serve, we all everybody else may want to see you. So you get an opportunity to see someone who's Jewish, someone who's Irish, whether you keep them or not. But and our job is to learn from them. So they tell you about their culture when they sit in your chair, the way they sit, the way they talk, the way they turn their head, the way they look at you. That's their culture. And all we have been taught to look at that and try to understand that so that we can be supportive to them, to our clients, and help them figure out how they can be the best person they want to be. The issue of controlling, and I think somebody said, woman brings feeling on men. I'm not sure what the statement was, but I'm not sure what that fully means. But I think, if you are having a tough time with the relationship you're in, you want to take a look at what part did I play? B, is this the right relationship for me? C, is this person in line with who I want as a wife or a husband or my kid's mother? If the answer is to one or any of those or no, you may need to take another look at where else do I need to go? Who else do I need to align myself with so that I am in a position to be able to take care of me? There you go. So women only bring feelings. Men has feelings too.
That's interesting. So as a man, how do you feel about that statement? And also he said something else about, the self-correcting one. So a woman never has to self-correct. I want to know, is that what you took from what I said?
No.
That's look, this is a therapist. So in pain, Trey Avington, share with me if that's what you heard me say when I gave my explanation. I want to know what you heard me say, because sometimes when you convey a message, right? And this is a perfect example so that people can understand, kind of those people who are watching. When we convey a message, our message isn't always received by the receiver as we're conveying it, or our intent to convey that message, which is why I think conflict resolution and that kind of communication technique that is needed, because we have to learn how to sit with what another person heard us say, how they received what we said and how it impacted them. We have to learn how to sit with that and then correct if necessary and give them a better understanding of what it is that we were intending to convey. But that's my first question. I want to know if that's what you heard me say. Also for you guys, is that what you heard me say?
That was not what I heard you say. But however, it could be interpreted as that if it wasn't listening to understand and hear the message that was being said. It very easily be interpreted that way.
Right.
Because you should never allow someone to disrespect you. Someone will only disrespect you if you allow them to. And they may be able to get away with it one time. You learn from that experience and don't put yourself in that situation anymore.
Because you can teach people
that you never have to self-correct, right? You could step away from the disrespectful behavior because you can't fix her behavior or make her act in a way that you think she should.
And essentially, she will self-correct then, though, because you teach her how to treat you. So if I'm disrespecting you and you're not entertaining me, oh my God, I can't remember. I think for me personally, the most disrespectful thing a person can ever do is walk away in a conversation, right? This is from a person who teaches conflict communication resolution. Okay. Three keys to safe communication. Okay, I'm gonna give it to you guys for free. Everybody else pays $2,000.
And y'all probably want to take notes on this because it's good information.
Right. The first one is to make it safe, and you make communication safe in conflict situations by, before you ever end up in those conflictual situations, have a conversation about a safe word. And at the initiation of that safe word, the moment that person, what it does is you're retraining your autonomic system or your reptilian brain, your amygdala, you're retraining it to respond differently in hostile situations. So the moment that it's ready to kind of take it up to a 10, right? Because I tell people, I explain those two organs inside of the brain. I explain it to people in therapy like a gas gauge, okay? So a gas gauge, right? You see the F is full and it's at the top. The E means empty, it's at the bottom. you know, because I that was a huge thing for me because I never pumped my own gas. But I know when to call somebody, okay? So, and that's the thing. That's the when to call somebody. You're able to call somebody and do something when you're on E, because when you're on E, it means that you're severely depressed. And that's why that's so important. So the E means that you're anxious, overwhelmed, and it led to you being depressed. Some people get anxious and overwhelmed, and it leads to them being completely irate and irrational because they're now in their emotion brain in that way. And so they become hostile. They say things that are hurtful. They don't use pragmatics. They're leading off of emotion, and that's it. And so the main thing is when you hear that safe word, I know a lot of my patients have used pineapples because of Kevin. What is his name? The little short one, Kevin Hart. God. I'm like, why did you do that? But like literally, it's about understanding that your safe word will trigger your reptilian brain, right? Your amygdala to not respond. That's your fight or flight. It will tell it not to do fight or flight. It'll tell it to step away for a second to calm down. So you're not running, because when you flee a situation, you're running from it, and there is only avoidant behavior that follows. So you'll find you a healthy distraction, which is the next thing. Find yourself a healthy distraction when you're cued by that safe word. Already have in mind a couple of things that work for you. I always recommend that people use muscle relaxation techniques. The easiest one to teach is closing your fist. Hold it for about 5 to 10 seconds. Just watch me, wait for it. And then when you have gotten there, release it. And then focus on the feeling that you feel here. Focus on what it did here. Because the reality is what that does is it sends a sign to your brain where everything starts and where everything responds. It sends a signal to release more dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. These are all feel-good chemicals. So naturally, if you do that about 3-4 times, you've already taken yourself from that 10 all the way down to a 2. You can also use deep breathing, intentional breathing techniques, because they work like magic, counting upward to 10 and back down to 1. You can also use mantras, right? Have in your mind, it's not that serious. It's going to be all right, because your self-talk is greater than any talk. And once you find yourself in a place to where you can talk to that person, return at a time that you've already determined when you heard that safe word. Because when you hear that safe word, you're going to go ahead and say 15, 10, 20, an hour, tomorrow, at dinner, at the table. You know what I mean? And make sure that you make a commitment to be there. Make sure you have a commitment to follow up, because now you're giving yourself time to cool down, not have to sit with that stuff anymore. And you can go to sleep. And if you're a prayer, pray that stuff away and lay it down before you go to bed. If you're not a praying person and you find yourself more neutral or spiritual, I do spiritual incantations, and I go ahead and I embody what it is I intend to push over into my next day. And so that means you're giving yourself words of positive affirmation, statements of positive affirmations, and things like that to help you rejoin and realign your chi. Do that if that works before you go to bed, but come back to the conversation as intended, and then go ahead and have that conversation. And the first thing you do is be there to listen, to understand, instead of listening to respond. Those are your 3 keys. If you use those every single time you find yourself in those hostile situations, they won't be hostile anymore. And you'll finally leave with a place of confirmation where you feel heard, and the other person also feels heard, and not only heard, but understood. It doesn't mean you have to agree. You just have to understand and sit with another person's emotions, because sometimes these people feel a way that you wouldn't intend for them to feel, right? But it's okay for them to feel that way, because they're in charge of their feelings, thoughts, emotions, and their process, not you. So I know that's a lot, but hopefully you guys had that notebook jotting that stuff down.
Yes, this is great information. Now notice also that everything that she mentioned, it didn't have nothing to do with you trying to control the person that you're in conflict with. with self-accountability, period.
Straight
up self-accountability. Once when you hold your own self accountable for your thoughts, feeling, emotion, this technique will work every single time. Flawlessly, every single time.
You are responsible from taking yourself down from all the way up here, from here to there in 10 seconds. You are the one responsible for coming back to 50-50.
Think about that. You guys got to think about that. The outcome. You know what I mean? Is the outcome, if I give these people my energy, worth the hassle? And most of the time, it's not. It just isn't. Right. There's no reason for you to be putting yourself in situations where these types of things are happening and somebody else is in control of your chi and your moment. So, so let me scroll to the next one. So did you guys wind that one up? Why women choose guys that make less than them and crucify them?
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get to this one. Why not?
Oh yeah, let's do it.
So in introducing this question, I'm going to say a couple of things. And for those of you who came in on the stream later, I do advise you go ahead and like and share this content now. I'm going to go and I'm going to share it myself in a couple of groups so that we can kind of get to it. Oh, I don't want to hear me. I just want to share me. But so I want to be able to have this conversation because I asked earlier if anybody was offended by our female caller that called in with the prank call. I'm going to say it was a prank. If I'm being, I don't know, condescending towards you and that's how you feel, I'm sorry, but that's just what I think it was. If it's something more serious, I suggest that you definitely find the time at some point and call 800-273-TALK 8255 so that you can talk to somebody and they can connect you with somebody that'll kind of give you the right help that you're looking for tonight. But so this was posted in a group and it caused a lot of hassle and a lot of backlash from Black women. And none of the women of other cultures, of other races, were offended by this comment. So it's interesting to me, that piece. And so I'm curious about what it is that triggered these women. And I'm curious about what the viewers feel when they see this question, when they're thinking about this question, whether they're male or female, what their position is. And it was interesting to me that none of the men in the group, and it had plenty of men in the group, right, they didn't say anything about it, really, not about the question being offensive or anything. So I want to know from you guys if this question on it, when you look at it, does this question in and of itself offend you? That's the first question. My second question is, do you have an answer for this question? Is there a way that you guys would answer it? And now I'm going to defer to my colleagues and I'm going to let them give you their answers for the said question while I finish sharing.
Now, you know good and well, I'm a gentleman. I always let ladies go first. Unless you want me to go, then I'll go.
I'm thinking, because I want to be able to be clear about what what my response is. So I'm thinking about how I want to think about this. Because for me, it's like, why is this an issue? Why would this come up for somebody? Like this kind of question, why would that come up for you? What is going on for you that you feel you need to ask that question? Is this an experience of yours? Or is it something you've seen happen and you want to know why that person allowed that to happen? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. The question is definitely based on a male perspective or a male
Mhm.
experience. Obviously, this particular person who want to know this question, um, it could be speculated that they may be dealing with this type of situation. They looking for a solution,
Mhm.
you know. But at the same time, like when we was doing our pre-show, I did brought up that I can actually see how the black woman would take offense to this question because in their stance, this question could be appeared as very misogynistic to them in the nature. So I mean, I can understand that aspect of it.
Okay. So anybody in the audience feel like this before I talk about it? Anybody feel like this is offensive as a question to them? Are they triggered by this question? If so, why? And if you guys have an answer to this question, I would love to know what your answer is. So I'm gonna get to answering the question myself because when I looked at it, and I felt like Sue danced around her response a little bit instead of answering it.
Uh-huh.
And I also feel like our urban therapist danced around it too, probably because he's a male. I don't know, but I'm just saying.
That's exactly the reason why. I know when to disengage.
I love it. I love
Well,
it.
the piece about Smash, I think that may have been the part that angered woman the most because what that means, it says that the man does not have any respect for you. You are a representation of sex only and not a human being and not a female who deserves to be loved, cherished, protected, and taken care of. And that hurts.
Yes. So I'm glad you finally gave it an honest answer. There you go. That is why she was offended. And that's okay to be offended. But here's
Uh-huh.
the thing. That doesn't mean that you have to get to the point where you as women, when you're offended by the things that men say, you have to name call them. You have to put them in a position or in a particular category of unworthy men. Because what I will not do is say that men are the only people that have sexual urges or sexual needs. For years and ages, and still to this day, there have been brothels, whorehouses, whatever you want to label them, but they have been around and they have been run by women. And guess what? Women have a sexual appetite that is beyond the capacity of a man. I am a sex therapist, so the reality is oftentimes women will suppress their sexual appetite so that they can appease what they assume the male mind is looking for in the woman that he chooses to marry. And I think that this is a great question to target given that fact. And so I'll say this for the young ladies that were older ladies, that were mature ladies, or whatever you guys want to say, that were offended by that guy posting this question in that group. I want to say this. As a group of professional individuals, there is a certain space, you understand, that people have regarded you in. And so when we think about men in that group and men who are doctors, who are at the master's level, whatever they are, and they're trying to attain their doctorate, there for whatever reason, women naturally think that because a man is trying to become a doctor, because he's trying to achieve a PhD, that he is a different kind of man than all other men. He still has a penis. He still has a penis. Hello. He's still a man. So at the end of the day, he's still going to be very upfront about what it is that he's looking for. And let me tell you something, ladies. You're going to hate me for saying this, but there is something to be appreciated about a man who is going to say what he's after when he's not sure that he's ready to settle down. I cannot tell you how valuable people in that area are in life in general. When a person is direct with you, and I think in a society where we've become so accustomed to people placating
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of appeasing to what it is that they think that we want so they can get what they need. You know, everybody's using somebody for something, but I'd rather know for sure that this is what you intend to do before I step out there and now I'm offering myself to you, because what it's going to do is position you in a different way, ladies. It's going to give you the opportunity to walk away from the situation that you're not prepared to be in. So the fact that a man is asking this question, you should basically give him the benefit of the doubt and give him an answer. Tell this man that, hey, you make the decision based off of where your heart and your mind says you are as a man. Because your mind is going to tell you whether or not you are financially, physically positioned, and spiritually positioned, and mentally positioned to be in a long-term relationship with a woman that you are going to tether more energy to, because you're going to see her and be with her in a different way, right? And so you have to listen to all those elements and allow yourself to be properly suited to live the life that you deserve, whatever stage you're in. That's just that part. And women, I just feel like you guys have got to be less sensitive. Hate me if you wanna. It's okay.
Well, the thing is to also think about your choices, because if you are approached by a guy who gives you the feeling, the impression that what he wants is just a one-night stand, a sexual relationship, and then he's going to move on, and that's not what you're looking for, then you need, once again, walk away from that, step away, have a conversation. That's not what I'm looking for. I may be in a club, but that's not what I'm looking for. No, thank you. Move on. Because you know how it feels for you tomorrow. You know what happens the next day. You get up, you wake up, and it's like, how did I get into this situation? Is this, I don't know, is this the second guy, the third guy I have done this with? Those are your choices. And when you get mad at a guy who asks a question like this, are you really mad at the question, or are you mad about, I'll say, maybe a behavior that you display that you didn't want it to? And now here it is in the form of a question. It happens.
Yeah, I want to offer my perspective about this too. But once again, y'all sharing some great information. I hope people is taking this serious and learning a lot from both of these ladies, even from myself as well. But I want to give my perspective about this. Now, it is absolutely 100% facts that when a man says something, he mean that 110%. So if a man say that his whole intent for you ladies is that he want to smash you, he mean that. Now, if he said also that his intentions is that, hey, I want to get to know you, I want to build a foundation, and I want us to get married, he actually have a plan step by step like that, he means that. So I'm letting y'all know that even in situations like she was mentioning about going in the club. Now, sometimes women have an unrealistic expectation with their man. Well, what I mean by that, they have an unrealistic expectation thinking that, hey, if I go ahead and give this dude what he wants, then I could use my body or my resources as leverage, then I could change that man's behavior or change him, and I could want to craft him the way that I want him to be. Ladies, that do not work. At the end of the day, men are very logical thinkers. We're very analytical. The only way we're going to change our mind is when we make the decision to change our mind, period. So don't fall for the trap. Don't fall for it. And I'm speaking as being a man. And I approve this message.
I approve this message. Exactly. You can't.
Men are pragmatic about sex. Sex is not attached to relationship. Woman is. And you have to feel like he kind of means something, or he matters. He's cute. He's nice looking. Is a possibility. before we engage. The man is, she's okay.
That's what I was about to say, because here's the thing. You can't change anybody.
No.
You cannot change anybody. You cannot change anybody. People are a continuous cycle of evolution, naturally on their own, in their own time and space. And so the same person that told you that he wasn't ready for marriage, he's too young, he's not ready for that yet. He could turn around, break up with you today, sweetheart, and marry another woman next week because he found the woman that moved him in that way. So understand this. You cannot change anybody. You're not here for that. You can only control yourself, and you're barely doing that. The reality is we struggle with self-regulation, emotional regulation, and distress tolerance. We struggle with that as human beings. And once we understand that piece, that will position you in a place to be able to receive your king, ladies. You cannot receive your king if you're trying to make a golem. And for those of you who doesn't know what a golem is is basically a self-created, a molded piece of clay that a witchcraft person would make into a whole human being. So what type of person you want, and then you would send them out and they would do your bidding for you. So if you wanted them to be your sex slave, they'd be your sex slave. If you wanted them fine, bulky, nice abs, you can create that in the clay, put it in the tub, say your little shamas, and bam, there you go. You're a perfect man. But guess what? That's not a reality. Ain't nobody doing that. What you doing? Stupid too. Like, why?
So since you mentioned that, Dr. J, I have a question for you. Do women like and respect yes men? Because that's basically what the golem is a yes man.
No, absolutely not. That's the point. He's dumb. So women, okay, I'm not saying females. Women do not and cannot respect a man who has no know-how, who cannot lead. A man must be able to embody that in order for us to follow. A woman can't submit. That's why so many Americans struggle with submission, because they think that they're giving themselves away to somebody that's not worthy. They don't think it, they know it. And that's fine. If you know that, remove yourself, ladies. Don't become a toxic piece of energy that now creates less security and therefore creating more toxicity in that man when he goes forth and tries to find his queen. So understand that you have to rest in your femininity. You have to lead from the position that you have the ability to do so, and in your own right. Everybody has a position of leadership. That ain't your space. You ain't going to change him, and you're not there to make him into who you want him to be. So if he's not what you see yourself aspiring for greatness and building with, go take your ass over there and look somewhere else. It's a lot of options out here. And don't give me the excuse talking about, oh, all these men in Atlanta are gay. So what are women, if that's the case? You understand what I'm saying? So look for somebody that resonates with your spirit. If that means that sometimes you have to go out of that first mind that tells you you're looking for a man versus a woman, girl, do what you got to do. If that means sometimes you got to say that you're looking for a man instead of a man instead of a woman, and you're a man, go do what you got to do. Except that you need something that is not of what you thought it was, but something that doesn't encompasses the things that you have scratched off as your non-negotiables. And so with that being said, I yield my time because I'm done with that. Like,
well, to answer his question, how do you make that decision? You have to decide what you're looking for. What is it you want? That's how you make the decision. Do I want to play, or do I want somebody who I think could align with me and we have a life together where it works? But if you tell yourself you mature and you're growing, then you would not want to be in a position where if you're smashing people, because it represents that there's some control over that behavior, you're controlling that situation. That's not what you want to do. If that's how you want to live your life, you need to understand what it would mean for you in the long run when you continue to live life of not having a meaningful relationship with other people. You will not feel fulfilled. So, your decision will be based on what it is you want for you. We can, we can talk about how it may not be okay and it's disrespectful, but that the decision is you, because you are the one at the end of the day sits with you and your feelings and your thoughts.
And for those that that are in this particular group that I'm talking about and that are having, your feelings and your thoughts being expressed in the chat, I have expressed it to you. You are welcome to join, and I've shared the link. So and also you can comment on the Facebook thread and the other thread we're streaming live as well, and I will definitely post your comments. But understand this: here is a safe space for all people. So if you think that the guy who made that post has some issues, and if you feel like he really needs some help, that's okay. And he very well may need that help. But first you got to ask yourself what inside of you motivated you to say that person needed that help. What disturbed you in a way? And what's unresolved within you? Because personally, I live in a space and in a world where people are allowed to be individuals and differentiated from the rest of society, because that's what makes us unique and that's what makes our society function as a whole. Everybody cannot be the same, walk the same, do the same, and dress the same, and move in a way that appeases everybody around them. And if they are, then they will develop a personality disorder for sure, 100%. Do I see some things in people on a day-to-day that say they definitely need something? Like back in the day, they used to say, "Oh, he needs Jesus."
We still say that.
Whatever they need, you know what I mean? Go out there and get what you need. But I think that it's important for people to self-identify that they need the help that is out there for them, and then therefore be guided to those resources by way of other people that can connect them to those said resources efficiently. But that's what I feel about that. And please understand that this is no negative impression on you or that person, other person. But the reality is this: men have a right to ask the questions in which they want an answer to, and women have a right to take offense and silently object by way of removing herself from the situation. And women also have a right to voice her opinion about whether or not she's offended. You can do that, but what you don't have a right to do is infringe upon the rights of other people and say that they don't have a right to feel the way that they feel whenever they feel, or ask the questions that they have questions about, and all of that stuff. If you notice, when we got that call earlier, we didn't tell this lady that we didn't have a large penis or whatever she was asking questions about. That's not what we said, because guess what? Whatever her questions were, they were valid. They just were not valid to the discussion that we were having. And that's the reason why I removed her. But guess what? I can't help her with her questions about a penis because I don't even own one. I might own some toys. I think we all have some of those, but they're not real, so they're not going to be able to satisfy the question she was asking. So, it is what it is. That's how I feel.
Yeah, I expressed the same exact thing on my platform as well. That I always invite my platform to be a safe space where people can voice their concerns, their opinions, their truths. I never go on comments and tell people like, "No, you can't be this way, you can't be that way," because if that be the case, what I'm doing, I'm controlling them, and I don't want that space on my platform at all. So I work with them, and it don't matter to me. See, I come up, do what you want to do, long as you say they don't infringe on other people's beliefs, telling them that they totally wrong and doing some real crazy stuff, extremely crazy stuff. But we're in America, freedom of speech. Because it's not going to affect me. It's not going to upset me or nothing like that, because that's what you believe in. I have my own personal beliefs as well.
It's important to ask and to say it out loud, because what it does is allow people to understand how you think and how you feel and what you're looking for and what it is you want. And we can talk about it. We can talk about it in a way like we are now, that it's not controlling, and you have a right to speak, speak your truth and ask questions. Because I don't know, is he being provocative? I don't know. It doesn't even matter. Is he trying to find out? I don't know. it doesn't really matter. He asks a question that, we're talking about. Yeah.
Right.
And because the reality, woman, it could be reversed.
Mm-hmm.
There are women who, is not interested in a serious relationship with a man, but would rather spend a one-night stand.
But it's okay for women to feel however they feel and do what they do. It's all right about that, and that's what I agree.
No, it isn't.
I'm telling you.
But yes, you're right.
In this society, it's okay for women to feel away and infringe upon the men's rights and to be heard and things like that and silence them. I don't think that that's right. I personally do not. I'm one of those people who feel like people are entitled to their opinions. You say what it is you feel, believe it. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to agree with you. It doesn't have to be my truth, but I can understand how you feel that way, and I appreciate you for sharing. So let me remove myself.
Right.
Real easy. So this one is, what are some of the issues that lead to the conversation of cancel culture? And I'm so glad that we came upon this question, because essentially that's what we are. Because I feel like
did we talk about this last week?
We did. we did. And I'm like, the girl that submitted this, when she submitted, I was like, why is that? Why is that such a thing? He was mentioning the Kat Von D situation and the Kevin Samuels situation and the Derrick Jackson situation and things like that. I don't know. I don't know what it is in people, humanity, that roots these insecurities where we have to take offense, so much of a harsh offense, to the things that other people say if they really don't apply to us. That's the part that gets me, because I have a saying that goes on in my household: if the shoe fit, put it on. Wear it. About put mud on it, do that. But I'm gonna know that shoe fit because I'm gonna see how you respond. At the end of the day, they say a hit dog is gonna holler, right?
Well, my daddy always used to say,
let it fly.
The truth offends. I don't know.
The truth does offend, doesn't it? But that shit, it hit hard when somebody else speaking your truth, when you decided to cover that up, mask it up. Like all these truths that are coming out about Kevin Samuels right now. I want you guys to take yourself to a place really quickly. I want you to ask yourself, has anybody watched how these girls are ripping this man apart, putting out his child support order, talking about he was earning $700 or $800 a month at the time of his child support order, and his baby's mama was at 2004, 5, 7, something like that. I don't know. And the baby mama was earning $24,000. This is gross income. So if this man only earning $800 or so, and you guys are giving him your clicks, your coins, your pennies, your whatever. Okay. That's really up to you guys. Now y'all paying that child support he back behind on. And that's okay. I appreciate y'all. That's what I love about people. We will find a way to collectively help one another out, even when we're hating each other.
The great circle of life.
So look, it is what it is. And when I tell you, I don't understand why it is that people have to have a mindset of negativity. Like, you don't have to hate Kevin Samuels. You don't have to feel that way about that guy. Let him go and do what it is that he does, and let him do it well. I just feel like when it comes to a repetitive behavior of a person like him on a public platform, where we can see him publicly humiliating, crucifying and assassinating the character of the Black woman, the other woman, any woman. I feel like we have to do our parts, because I feel like if we don't say anything, whether you're male, female, Black, white, Indian, other, whatever, I feel like you're the same as those cops that stood there as George Floyd was crucified and murdered in these streets. Because at the end of the day, what he's doing can lead to a woman taking her life. Suicide is a very real thing. And these women who are calling into his show have a certain level of vulnerability, whether it's masked with a heightened sense of I'm a 10 or 7 or 8 or whatever it is that woman feels like she is, on whatever day it is, she feels like she's that thing. But I think that he has an unrealistic outlook on what it is that makes these relationships between people work anyway, in general. And that's kind of what really drives and grinds my gears. What do y'all think?
Well, I can this topic about cancel culture, I can relate to it a whole lot just because I now have my own platform and I have experienced some of the posts that I post on there, and it goes viral because it can be controversial. It can't be to the point where people would not agree with me at all, period, which that's fine. But however, some people, they get on there, they just say the most nastiest things, and they don't have nothing to do with the content that I'm talking about. And so some of it, they get on there to the point where he just needs to stop talking. He doesn't need to do this. And at the end of the day, I'm like, first of all, you don't even know me. You don't know how I am or nothing like that. All I'm doing is creating content for y'all for the open up dialogue. That's it. So that's why I could personally relate to, the Kevin Samuels out there, the Derek Jacksons there out there, and all these other content creators there out there too, because we experience this every single day. And just I remember it was a person that came on my platform. This woman, all she did was just troll my platform. I tried to have a conversation with her, like, well, ma'am, are you talking about the content? No, I just don't like you, period. I'm like, ma'am, you don't even know me. So how can you make that observation? Well, you need to do this, you need to do that. Just kept trolling on my platform. So I had to block her because she wasn't providing no type of dialogue. It wasn't nothing positive coming out of that at all, period. And there's some people out there where they be so elevated to where they just don't like a person just because of what the person said. And it's almost as though the person was talking to them personally. Like in my case, it's almost as though I was talking to this lady personally. And so I personally feel it. And the crazy part about it, I wasn't even talking about her. I was talking about the post I was talking about Derek Jackson. And she was a diehard Derek Jackson fan. So it was crazy. But that's the point about this whole cancel culture. I believe that the behavior behind it is that where people mention the word cancel culture, I believe the behavior behind that, it empowers people. It gives them this type of power or ability that they feel like that they could dismiss a person or they could stop a person's message from being heard, which the reality of it is that no, they cannot, because they're not on that level to do that. Now, however, if they own a platform, actually own the media, like these high companies own it, then it's different, so.
Sue, what do you think?
Well, I think about, like, when I've sat down with my clients and we talk about what's going on, if you listen to your client, right, they'll come in and they'll say, I'm feeling this way, blah, blah, blah. And as you sit down and you talk to them, what happens? They start to talk about situations in their lives. They start to talk about their dad and their mom, and and it didn't initially look like, it feels like it had any connection to what they came in the initial presenting issue. So people walk around with a lot of injury, a lot of unresolved stuff, and doesn't realize that you might say something that triggers that. And that happens to all of us because we all have experiences, good and bad. And because they've never been able to deal with it in a way that it's not uncomfortable anymore, you get it. You get the raw stuff. This woman, the woman you're talking about, probably has a lot of stuff that she was dealing with that she couldn't address, and you triggered it. And at the moment she triggered it, you got all her feelings, all her thoughts that belonged to somebody else. we understand that because we've been trained to understand those kinds of behavior. And what we have learned, it's not about us, even though it brings up feelings for you. And I certainly know I take deep breaths when I have clients who say stuff to me that is really, it is out of this world. It's like their job is to express themselves. So I listen, but I think about, well, wait a minute, what is this all about? Why am I getting this? Why, I'm getting this because it's probably safe to tell me, but at the same point, I need to have this person understand that this is not something you walk around with all the time. Because it doesn't help, because you give it to everybody else, and what you do is you alienate yourself even more than that's not what you wanted to do. You didn't want to alienate yourself. You wanted to be seen, heard, and understood. But if you don't know how to present what's going on for you, this is what you get. This is what you got from somebody who was really hurting and doesn't even know. And This is why we do the work we do.
Right. Yeah.
Right. This is the self-diagnosis. You go up online and you look at all the symptoms. You're still not able to feel okay at the end of the day.
I got patients that come in and they're like, Dr. J, are you sure that I have bipolar disorder? Are you sure it's not like that borderline personality disorder? Dr. J, are you sure that I don't have the depressive disorder? Dr. J, wait, I was thinking, I think that I don't really have narcissistic personality disorder. I think I got distress tolerance. I said, so you looked up distress tolerance skills? Diagnosis?
No, I got PTSD.
No,
it's like, no, you don't have PTSD. You might have trauma, but it's not PTSD. Do you know the difference?
Acute stress disorder. It's a lot of diagnoses out there, but stay away from the internet. That's always my response.
But went straight to WebMD, huh? Did a little survey report.
I'm like, what's wrong with you? Get out of here. Stay off the internet. Leave it alone, okay? They need to know all about your trauma history. They need to know all about your functional domains and the way that you move and you speak and you do in those different domains. In order for us to come up with a confirmed diagnosis, that's a lot of work, folks. It is not easy. But so when we do it and we're thorough and the process is what it's supposed to look like, you can definitely get to your best level of functioning, because then we know exactly what we're really working with, and then you can start mitigate some of those symptoms that you present with as you move into a higher level of cognizance. So
when you're sitting with someone who says something that kind of resonates a past experience with family member, you were able to just sit with it and not dump it on you, not try to make you feel how they feel, because that's what they're really trying to do. Make you feel how they feel, which is really horrible, which is low self-esteem, which is I'm not okay, I'm not worthy, I'm not loved, I'm not pretty, I'm not whatever it is. We get the raw blunt of it.
Right.
Because we put ourselves in a position to allow that to happen. Also, we have a talk show going on about a mental health issue or about a feeling or whatever it is we're talking about, and it resonates with this person sitting in the audience. And it's like, how dare you put me on TV? Because that's what that is. How dare you talk about me?
Right. and look, I'm right here, but you don't want to come in. You don't want to voice your opinion.
And you're wrong. You're wrong.
Right.
Talk about me. Because that's what she was telling you, right? You were wrong about everything you said.
Yeah. What's wrong with you? Like, this dude really needs some help. Like, I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm not saying that he does. I'm just saying that this is what needs to be addressed. Essentially, is it a valid question? Yeah, it's a valid question. Does it deserve an answer, a response? Sure, it does. Is it appropriate for the content flow of the group? Of course, because you guys got a wide array of topics in there, and nobody else got a problem with posting a relationship question. That's a relationship question. So you got to look at the whole context of things, and sometimes not look within yourself immediately for that emotional response that doesn't allow you to understand where another person is coming from. Yeah. And sometimes you really just got to be curious, and you got to say, hey, were you intending to be overly sexual with your presentation? Because I really feel like that was, you know what I'm saying? it's something about that experience, just being validated in that moment, that should give you what you need to move on and figure out how to better gauge or engage or disengage with this person. So I feel like cancel culture is a thing that people talk about so often, so frequently. And I'm going to bring that question back up in a moment.
You're really canceling you. That's really what you're doing. Don't talk about me. Don't talk about me like that.
I feel like cancel culture comes up because people have a bullying mentality. So just because we've now moved to the internet, right? Cyberbullying is a real thing. And so I know you guys remember, like, you know, I ain't going to give my age or nothing like that and talk about the schoolyard and all that good stuff. But I know you guys remember being in school and having those people that were really the popular people. And then everybody just gravitated to what they did and just followed behind them, and things like they could have been
nothing wrong, right?
Right. But they just did. And you're like, blind conformity. Why not pick me? So a lot of people became that pick me person because they're trying to get the attention that other person had, not understanding that sometimes that other person doesn't even need or want or desire that type of attention. For me, you know, I was always the pretty girl, the chick with the nice hair, what are you? You know what I mean? And that attention is not the attention that you want, but people gravitate to you just because they have their reasons for gravitating to you. And my thing is, do what's good for you. You know what I'm saying? I got my own thing over here, and I'm a one-track mind kind of person. I always have been. So sometimes people that are envious, they want to kind of move people away from you. So they find things and they're like, oh, this person's this or this person's that. They're doing this. And I saw them here and saw them there. You ain't never seen me nowhere. But whatever you think is fine. Go right ahead. Have those conversations. So the thing is, if you're greater than those moments of people trying to get their 5 minutes of fame, if you're a person who doesn't move in and buy into the things that other people buy into, if you have your own independent realm of thinking, oftentimes you will be targeted. And if you have a different framework of moving and operating and thinking and processing than the culture that you're in accepts as socially acceptable, you're definitely going to be a person that they make to be canceled because they don't want people following you. And I feel like that's one of the reasons that people like Derek Jackson and Kevin Samuels and those people that we talk about in cancel culture, that's one of the reasons why we do target them, because essentially, guess what? We all embody a bullying mentality. We are like, we're going to remove you from your platform because we put you here. I just happened to be there. I didn't know who any of these guys were. Like, who is he? What is he? I don't know who he is. But the thing is, I think that people have a mentality now that they look to other people for validation. And when they find that from these content creators, I think what happens is when they let them down, it's like a kid with a tantrum. Oh, he's screaming. So I think essentially people have to remove that mentality where they're looking for people to validate them and only look to take away from the experiences that add value to them. And that's it. You know, and so I think that in protecting your internal mental compass and protecting your internal realms of peace and trying to do the things that are best practices for you to remain well in balance and within yourself, I think that you should definitely try to embody practices that say that you recognize when you need to remove yourself from situations that don't add value, and then just do that. In the interest of time, because I know that we're coming up, I only wanted to stream for roughly 2 hours. I wanted this to be our late night show, and so people could tune in when their kids are asleep, because I know we've talked and we've had some very explicit language. I know I do. I have one of those mouths that's unfiltered.
And potty mouth.
Yeah. Follow me. I'm going to say whatever it is, just the way it is, and I'm not sugarcoating anything. So, but that's just what it is. And I think that, you have to move and you have to do things at a time that's appropriate, especially for those little ears that are very sensitive and impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
So in the interest of that, that's why I wanted to do this thing late. But I'm going to put up these because these last couple of questions are pretty...
Okay, come on.
I featured flashed one, I think. And also for you guys that are watching, don't forget to like, share, follow, and all that good stuff. I'm Doc LQJ, that urban therapist is over there. He's he's everywhere. And on her social media is definitely coming soon, but you can also find her social media Facebook page on my Facebook, which is facebook.com/Doc LQJ, DOCLQJ. If you scroll down a couple of posts, you'll see her link to her social media page on there. Let's see. This one. So, and I'm going to let you guys take it and talk about it first and talk about rape culture and that piece. And I'm going to be right back in the room. So give me just a sec.
Yes, so many layers to this question. So many layers.
Because we understand rape as a sense of control. It's not about sex. It's about control. So if somebody who wants to be in control all the time, underneath that is a lot of anger. Underneath that anger is a lot of sadness.
Yeah, absolutely. Now what would lead a man to raping a woman on the day? Well, that does it just really depends on the individual. Just through my observation, normally be a type of individual who's very insecure with not only himself but insecure with dating women or being with a woman. Maybe it's that same type of individual who's been rejected a lot from women, and he could use that opportunity to teach a woman a lesson, which eventually leads to a woman being raped on dates. But I mean, there's so many different scenarios with that. So many different scenarios.
I know, for me, it's when I listen to history of what has happened to this person. A lot of the times you hear someone who has not been able to make decisions for him or herself, who has, they'll talk about having a really rigid, controlling adult person in their life. They'll talk about somebody who's actually maybe sexually molested them.
Yeah, that's a big one too.
Yeah, and so as a kid who's been sexually molested, what happens is you take away his or her trust or ability to have healthy relationships. You take away the ability to understand relationships between men and women, and that's replaced with anger. That's replaced with anger and lack of self-control. So what the guy, if the guy is out on a date and tells himself that he could control her, then he's going to do all the things that he needs to do to control her. Usually he will do to her what was done to him. People do that. People will do to you what was done to them if they are not in a space that is healthy for them, if they're not aware of the issues, if they're not aware of what triggers them and doesn't trigger them. So clearly you have a guy who's reaching out and he does it in the form of rape because people do other things too. In this case, he decides to use his power and his will to control her because that's what happened to him. He was weak. He was not able to resist. He didn't know it was coming. He couldn't stop the other person. And now he's doing that to this person because he thinks he can, and he can't. And those are the things we work with.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing too, we mentioned this earlier too. Another reason is because that man he want that woman to feel how the way he felt. So if it was a
Absolutely.
situation that he was molested when he was young,
Mhm.
he want that person to feel what he felt, that same type of punishment. So he inflicting that
Absolutely.
same type of punishment repeatedly over and over and over again.
Absolutely. I'll do to you what was done to me, and you will feel how I felt in that situation. Absolutely, because he felt he didn't have any power, he didn't have any control, and he's going to make sure he gets some power and control. The way he does it is he will rape. That's his power and control over you, because you have become him when he was raped, and he becomes the person who raped him. That person had control.
And sometimes there's other forms of abuse too. I was kind of listening in before I could figure out how to put myself back in here and everything, but that's all right too.
You got lost.
I did. I was like, wait, why am I not? I can see myself, but I can't see myself. So, but yeah. So I think that it does have a lot to do with repeating the cycles that life and life experience have kind of conditioned us to understand as normative for us. But I also think that it has to do with poor boundaries on the parts of women and men. I think that sometimes on dates, women do not establish what should be already ingrained, should I say, inside of the male mentality and the female mentality as children, because I feel like our society has a repetitive cycle of not conditioning these things in people. And so I feel like we should let our children know that the absence of a yes is a definite no. And that's what I taught. I did this feature in one of my very good acquaintances. We've been knowing each other for quite some time now. He was accused of raping a girl at one of these parties for alternative lifestyle. And it was a lot behind it, And when he came to me, I think that he was a little shocked by the fact that I'm all about accountability. Well, sir, yeah, I'm sorry. You did rape her, because if that's what she's feeling, if that's the energy, the vibe that she got from that, if you never okayed it in that instance, I don't give a damn what conversations you had before you landed yourself in this space where a different encounter was taking place, right? So it doesn't matter what the situation was there. It doesn't matter that she didn't say no. Doesn't matter that she didn't necessarily push you off or scream or kick or anything. Those things don't matter. What matters is that you never got a yes in that instance. And for her, you had her doing something. You were doing something else. She had a different expectation for this encounter. And so when I say about boundaries, it's this thing, and you got to get a definite yes, it's this thing, because you cannot go into a situation where you talk to a person in a sexualized way, you sext a person, y'all are into sexting these days. That's what you do. Let me get that. Oh, I got you next weekend. Send me that picture. You know what I mean? Whatever. You can't be back and forth on these types of conversations and endorsements and things like that. And then when you get into a situation where that situation is now an opportunity to make those sexting conversations a reality for you, and you go ahead and capitalize on that thing without having another discussion. And so I think that it was something to the effect that he was giving her a massage, and giving, she had, he does massages. That's his thing. But that's what you do professionally, sir.
Right. Massage is one thing.
I didn't come here for you to stick your penis in me. That's not what I came here for. We're not doing that. And she's so much better than me. God bless her soul. Because I'm gonna turn around real quick. No. Look, okay, because you have to let people know what your intent, where you are. And I don't know how people just jump into sexual situations with each other anyway. Like, I don't know nothing about you. Where What's your disease history? What are your stats?
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of things. Like, you're going to become my whole patient. Sexual history. When did you start having sex? How many times have you had sex for money? How many times have you been raped? How many times have you had sex in total? How many partners you got now? You're going to not want to do me by the time we're done. Okay? So at the end of the day, I feel like women have to be more accountable for having accurate boundaries and saying no when they know it's a no. Men have to be accountable for not having clear boundaries and knowing how to fish for the yes when there is no.
Mm-hmm.
And so you got to be direct. You got to have conversations that lead to your understanding that this is what that person wants out of the encounter. So when I had that conversation with him, he was like, what you mean? Like, she sent me naked pictures and I sent her dick pictures and all this stuff. Sir, listen, whatever happened to this encounter in this day and this time and this moment, whatever happened, it's like it never happened, or it happened to the other chick that's in the room right now.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you treat that situation? Brand new woman. I want you to go down and recondition your brain to now understand it's important for you to protect your physical safety, to protect your spiritual safety, to now protect your reputational safety.
Mm-hmm.
Go and ask for a yes. If you don't get a yes, then it is a no.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think that that's the part that leads to that. I think that people don't have clear boundaries. People are afraid to have the conversations about sex, but they want to have sex. And that's interesting to me. I never really understood that. You know, like, everybody's like, whoa, did you ask them if they're having sex? It's like nobody cared about what it looked like when they were having sex. Like, it wasn't an issue then. So why is it a problem now?
Yeah.
Your desire to have sex with me isn't an issue, but it's a problem if we talk about it. That's a problem for me. I don't know how the rest of you good folks feel about it, but for me, if we can't talk about it, then we can't be about it.
Then it can't happen.
Okay. So that's just what it is. And I think people have to reshape their understandings of what it means to be with somebody intimately. And if that's what you're looking for, establish clear boundaries, understand that you're establishing a very clear line of delineation of what is and what isn't going to happen, which encounters. And you know, that's pretty much all I got to say about that. If you guys have comments that you guys feel are valid on this topic, please feel free to submit them. I will post them. But I'm going to move on to the next question. But you can comment on this and I will post it, and I'll just click back into this question. I just am moving in the interest of time. What is the main contributor to men desiring or ending up in relationships?
With trainees?
The trannies?
Like, what's trainees, as in somebody new on the block?
Okay, so I would have corrected the question before I posted it. That's my bad, but let me help. So,
Transgender?
I'm gonna assume they mean a transgender person. But do you mean, and I know that you posted, this person sent this through in my email when I was in the bathroom and give me some water. So I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if they mean somebody fresh off the block, new.
I think that a tranny, some people use the word tranny. You got some people in that community that are offended and some that aren't. I don't know if you're talking about a person that has a full sex change, gender exchange surgery, or if you're talking about a person that's in the process. But I'll say the elephant in the room in many communities right now in this culture is that women have adopted a serious similarity to transsexual people. And so have men. They have both engaged in way more surgeries. Like people I went to med school with that became surgeons. They are bank now. Okay, from self-pay, folks are spending their whole savings on getting surgical, replacement options and things done.
Removal and shaping and all that.
Maybe that's what it is. If you adopt the same things as a woman that a transsexual, first of all, came in here and coined for themselves, then you can't get mad at them for doing their thing. I don't think they're doing anything that anybody else didn't do. I don't know. That's just how I feel about that.
I read up about what that really means. I don't want to answer what I'm not, because I had a whole different idea of what a trainees were. I thought this was a fresh blood of somebody who's not sexually active, they're like sort of new, and a man trying to break them in. That's where I went, but that's probably not what that means. But see, that's where I went.
It's hard for me to answer this question too, just based on interpretation, because it could mean several different things, and I don't know how to address it to be honest.
Well,
just based on how I was asked.
Yeah, but I think that's the answer. If you guys have, if we didn't answer, if you need something else, then you're welcome to email me and we'll get it on the next episode. I'm gonna move on though, so I can
and I think it's not just no matter what, he's not just ending up in a relationship. There's a choice here, so it didn't just end it up.
Sometimes I feel like sometimes men are unknowingly in relationships with women that are trans women, and it's a lot of them. Like I have a lot that I've seen in therapy, and you would know. And and sometimes the question was, do I tell my husband that's why I can't have kids? And I'm like, that ain't even none of my business.
That's a decision you make.
Yeah. Whatever you decide that it's the time, we can talk about what that would look like. We can explore it. We can practice. But So,
women rape men.
Do women rape men?
Yes.
The long of it or the short of it.
Right. So yeah, women rape men.
Absolutely.
They do it. What's wrong with you? Of course.
I worked in a sex offender program for years.
Yeah.
A lot of women who rape little boys.
Yeah. So like I said, in the absence of a definite yes, the answer is naturally no. And so a lot of times, I know a lot of women that have had sex with men, and those men were not necessarily consenting individuals. And another piece in there, another factor is that we live in a society today where being under the influence is just a thing. And I feel like if you're under the influence, you're not a consenting adult, because you can't consent if your mind has been manipulated to a different understanding, a different place, or whatever it is that you got going on. Whatever alters your mental state debilitates you from making a informed decision on whether or not you engage in sexual activity. And so I think that women rape in all kinds of ways. Men rape in all kinds of ways. When we think about rape, most of the time we think about the violent, forcible rapes, and we don't think about the pragmatics of what rape really is. I think that we have normalized rape culture in America. That's just my opinion. But it is what it is. But yeah.
And I think people often believe that men rapes, and men is one who rapes a woman, as opposed to that a woman rapes a man, and that's been happening forever. Women do actually take it, get to that point where they rape a guy without him saying yes. I mean, that happens too. But belief in our culture is that this is what men do, and this is not just what men do.
No, and then they say that, if a man's penis is hard, then he wanted it. He doesn't have any control of that. I don't think they realize they don't have control of it. They end up with ED. And they're like, I want to do it, but it doesn't want to do it. Yeah, you never had control over when you thought you did. So let me now teach you how to now access some external faculties that can help you engage in sex again and then correct your ED. But the thing is, I think that that's the same thing as us when we say men make the comments of, well, if she didn't want it, she wouldn't have worn it.
Right.
So I think that we got to be real careful and tread very carefully on that piece, because I feel like women have the same track record of raping and taking these men like they do, like they do women. But also I think women also rape women. Men also rape men. We have to recognize that these are still issues for those people that are living within the confines of the LGBTQI community. And so it is what it is.
Yeah, the only other thing about that is that it's just statistically it's just not reported that men report that they're being raped.
Right.
That's the only difference. Because to be honest, for us the behavior behind the man, we don't know how to feel about it. Once we be raped, we like, okay, is this good sex, or did I just get raped, or I don't know how to feel about this.
And how do I tell people a woman raped me?
Yeah, it's just like, well, I guess I gotta accept this. Can't tell my friends about this, but
right, they're back. You won't.
So that's why I never get reported.
Yeah. And then I can't say how many times I've been in the process of doing a BPS and the male has sat silently on that question when I ask him that question. Have you ever had sex in exchange for goods or money, services? Have you ever been raped? Have you ever had forcible sex or been made to do sexual acts against your will? And then they're like,
against my will? I don't know. I like it. That's probably what they'd say, or something to that effect.
Clarify that, lady. Clarify that. Can we
it's kind of humiliating for a man.
Safe. Yeah, that's what they're looking for. They're looking, is it safe for me to talk to you about this? Because this might be something, for me that has been the underlying issue for everything that I've just talked to you about presenting today. And so I think that kind of resonates with them a little bit when we're talking about that. But I feel like it is what it is. And I think that you definitely made a huge contribution to the topic when you said that it's difficult for men sitting with the aftermath of it. Because the reality is it's difficult for women sitting with the aftermath of a rape.
Absolutely.
And it's hard for women to tell their story openly. It's hard for women to feel comfortable enough and secure enough within themselves to say, yeah, I was a rape victim, because those things are so, you carry those around in such a way that that level of vulnerability is very difficult for most people to kind of step into. And I say that because I was a rape victim myself. And it's one of those things that until you find healing through therapy and revealing the layers of how the things happened and transpired and the things that you can do to create a safer space for you moving forward, right?
Right.
It's hard to kind of talk about it. It's hard to live in the experience. And until you get tired of reliving, right, and being triggered, you have to make that decision. And for me, I know that's what it was. I had to make that decision that I'm not going to be triggered by just seeing a man in a friggin' uniform. You know what I mean? Right. I'm not going to be feeling negative and hostile towards these people that I'm serving my country with side by side because they're male. I'm not doing that, because not every guy is that guy. You feel what I'm saying? Right. And so you have to find ways to become more safe, and you have to find ways to become resilient to the things that hurt you in a way that you're not mad over them. So it's just one of those things, though. I think in the aftermath, a lot of people are shocked even to hear that men can be raped by women.
And, I also think, and I'm just, this might be a general statement, blanket statement, but I think it's a culture where women are being told that they caused the rape. It's your fault. So that's a really big piece. I know for me, I had to get to the point in my own therapy of really believing I didn't cause it. It was somebody who had control over me that did it to me. When my skirt could have been as short as it wanted to be, I could have passed in front of you with my underwear without a bra on. I did not cause the rape.
Right.
It's about his behavior, not me. And once you're able to accept the fact that you didn't do anything wrong, you are able to move on. At least for me, I was able to move on. To be like, well, I'm okay. I'm really okay. Because for me, it was what was wrong with me that I would want that to happen to me for a long time.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It wasn't my fault.
I'm sorry you had to sit with that because I said I'm sorry you had to sit with that because the thing is like for mine being military related because I was an officer in the military, you know, of course, what do they say? You're the officer.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Fuck it up, right?
Not he's a man and you're a woman. Not he's way bigger than you. You know what I mean? Not those things. You're the officer. So force preservation. You know, you got to learn how to preserve you, your body, your mind, your all these things. And I'm like, wow. Okay. So what's going to happen next? Oh, well, you know.
But your female clients will tell you she believed it was her fault. Because your grandparents would say, go wash it off and forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll just keep you away from Uncle Fred.
Yeah.
There's no Fred out there, but we'll keep you away from him.
Look, there's some Fred out there watching this, and he's like, man, I'm not the creepy.
No, not you. But you know, your family knows, but they'll keep you away from him. But there's no acknowledgement. So you, as a kid or as a young adult, takes it in. I did something wrong. Cause this, and until you are taught how to understand that behavior is about somebody trying to have control over you because he or she couldn't control their outcome, then you're able to make changes in yourself and feel better about who you are and be able to engage in a relationship with a male without bringing that stuff with you. Or at least, you know, it's arrested in a place that it doesn't take over your relationship. But
it also occurs in these religious circles too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Those cults.
The pastors and bishops and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad because my thing is, okay, what do you do with that thereafter? Because people will vacate religion altogether when you're raising them in that type of mindset. You know what I mean? So you're really not accomplishing what you say that you're there to accomplish, and that's spreading the word of God, getting people to come in, you know, tribes and navigate and gravitate to the word of God and his teachings and that kind of stuff. Like you're not doing that if you don't give people validation in their experience that hurt them in that space. So we're going to move, and this is our last question of the night, you guys, and thanks for the viewers that are watching right now for staying up with us and then kind of, you know, listening to this content. Hopefully you guys got something very helpful out of this discussion. For those of you who are currently in a situation where you're experiencing domestic violence, rape, suicidal ideation, or anything that puts you in a place where you feel helpless or hopeless, please understand that there is help out there for you. If you dial 678-468-0442, I have the National Crisis Hotline's phone number on there. But also, if you have time, write it down. It is 800-273. It's 8255.
Yeah, okay.
800-273 talk. And so the thing is, we'll connect you with someone, National Crisis Hotline, someone that can link you to a therapist or other peer counselors, even if it's a substance abuse crisis, whatever crisis that you may be experiencing, you can get the help that you need by way of connecting to a licensed clinician. You can talk to one today. We literally have somebody there 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days, doesn't matter if it's holiday or not. There's always somebody manning the lines, whether they're at home or in the call center or whatever. So that's that piece, that spiel. And we're going to go ahead and move into this last question. Why does a man need control in a relationship and beat you when you don't conform? I wish I had taken the time, the moment, and remember which group this came from. Because this screams that there is a situation where you're needing this help, and that kind of makes me feel away. But for those of you who are watching this and need that help, that same line can definitely connect you to a domestic violence counselor and domestic violence resources for shelter and creating a safety plan and a way to get out and exit strategy and things like that. And also, please, people, please understand the value in dialing 911. The same that I today will definitely connect you. 911 can connect you to the crisis line as well. Please understand that when we see a situation, we need to be a culture that says something, see something, say something, and stop, encompassing that internal mind your business mindset where you see a situation that's toxic, negative, that could lead in, injury to another person. You just turn your eye and walk away. We have to be the people that understand the village mentality. It doesn't just take a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village for us to thrive and live in a society where we encompass greatness and we're contributing in a way that is conducive for the overall gain of all of us. So I'll let you guys take this question. Why does a man need to? You're the man. Let us know what's going on. You're the man now.
You're in the hot seat, bro.
I'm the urban therapist.
It's a man. You're the one. You're the man. You got the hot seat. You're the one on the panel that has a penis. Tell us, why does a man need control in these relationships and beat you when you don't conform? And one of your followings from your page actually mentioned a certain group of men, Asian men, and something else on one of his comments.
Oh yes, Asian, yes, yeah. Arab and Asian men beat their woman.
Yep, let me see. Let me find his comment.
See, that's probably cultural.
What we doing exactly?
The reason why it deals with a lot of tradition. That's where it stems from. The whole lot of tradition. A lot of men, period. No matter the culture, they've been taught this one concept that they have to lead and they have to provide. Now, they don't give them the blueprint of how to lead and provide. They have to figure it out themselves culturally. So what happens is that leading and providing end up coming into a form of control and manipulation. This is where I believe a lot of men they don't learn self-discipline. In other words, so they want the woman to do a certain thing. Then if a woman don't do the certain thing, then you got to do it. I'm the man of the house. Then some men in their nature, in their nature per se, don't want to beat a woman, but sometimes the situation comes to the point where they feel like they have no other choice but to beat submission into them in order to get them to do what they want them to do. So that's the reason why culturally men do that. At a lot of tradition, it deals with a lot of tradition. It also deals with a lot of religious worldviews as well. There's a lot of these different elements as well. It also could be a factor that their previous father was doing this to their mom. The grandfather was doing it to their wife. It could be a generational thing as well.
And she belongs to me. I mean, I know my culture that it was actually okay to beat your wife if she didn't conform to the expectation of what it means to be a wife. I know there's probably, I think, and I'm laughing, but I know 45 years later, she's hitting him back. As opposed to standing there and take the beating and then go cook the meal.
So you got that Ike and Tina going on, huh?
Look, Ike and Tina, look. Look, I told you, don't hit me.
Because progress is slow, but people have progress and change. Like, women is now doctors and lawyers in my country. In the 60s, they won't. That was unheard of. I've told Dr. J, I remember growing up, I was, by the time I was 8, I had to learn to cook, wash, clean, sew, and take care of a kid, because my role is to be a wife and a mother.
Yeah.
And that's still embedded in our culture, even though it's a little bit, now that the mother is not home. But she still, those are still some of the things she does. And she
Yeah,
can be
you
a
still
lawyer,
have
but
to,
it's an
yeah, you still have
expectation.
to do those things because at the end of the day, how they're gonna eat, what they gonna do if they don't eat. You understand?
Right.
We're responsible for all of that. So I think essentially when I look at this question, it screams out, like I said, that she's in a situation where
Mm-hmm.
she's going through this and she's trying to
Mm-hmm.
understand it, because what happens is the cycle of abuse is the vicious cycle. And it includes these things that put us back in these situations where we're
Mm-hmm.
never being abused again. And it's almost like insanity. It's not that you really expect something different to change in the
Mm-hmm.
situation. So I don't think that she's expecting anything different to happen. I think
Mm-hmm.
she's just trying to finally make sense of what's happening here,
Right.
because she's trapped in that vicious cycle. And so maybe she's at the honeymoon phase now where he's making up and he's like, I love you. You understand? I don't know
Right.
why you made me do this to you. Right?
You made me angry.
Right.
Here's the flowers, but you made me
Oh,
angry. That's why I hit you, but I really love you.
yeah. You didn't season my food right. You didn't put the spices, the peppers in there, whatever it is that he was needing. You didn't do that. Right. And so as a result, I had to do my part and I had to discipline you. That cycle of abuse is just it's really terrible, and it's hard to really
Mm-hmm.
explain to you guys what's going on inside of your mind in its entirety. But understand that when you're trapped in that cycle, you will not see a way out until it's time for you to see a way out. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
life yields experiences for us that are not necessarily great experiences, right? But we can learn from every experience that life yields. So in every negative experience, there is a positive outlook. There is a positive
Mm-hmm.
outcome from via a lesson that you were meant to take from that
Mm-hmm.
experience, right? And so life is about living and learning. And if you're not living, if you're not learning, so you should be learning something from every exposure, every experience that life yields to you. And if you're not doing that, you're doing yourself an injustice. And so when you look at this and you need to understand what's going on with that man, it's not that he needs control of you, it's that he's trying to gain control of himself. Because when abuse is in that, when he's stuck in that cycle, or even she, because women abuse too, when they're stuck in that cycle, they're confused as to who the hell is this person? Like,
Mm-hmm.
who have they become? Because they're operating outside of their norm criteria type of responses. They're not sure why they're triggered in the way that they're triggered negatively. They're not sure why they're hitting you while they're responding with aggressive words. They don't understand why they're doing that. And so what happens is they've lost their sense of control.
Mm-hmm.
And so as they're wrestling with that, you just happen to be in the way of them seeing themselves in the mirror as they're rendering that blow, whether it's with words or physical punches. And so it's not you. It's not your fault for being in a way. That experience
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to teach you something about yourself and about how to recognize these types of behaviors in that person as well when you meet that new person that's the same version of that. Because what will happen is when you have attracted an abuser, that's something inside of you that
Mm-hmm.
calls out to the personality type of them. And both of you are in abused situations that require this type of energy to come together. And so you have to recognize that element in you that's attracting that type of person in them. So you can move it the hell out the way and live your best life. And that's what that's about. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
So on a deeper and a more connective level, we have to be people that are aware of the patterns of behavior that we encompass that keep us in these vicious cycles that don't
Mm-hmm.
yield and add value to us in the ways that we're expecting them to. And we also
Mm-hmm.
have to be the kind of people that don't expect value to be added in places we know damn well it's not going to be added anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You can't go to the trash can that's empty now. The trash can that's empty, because like they say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. You can't go to a trash can that you know is empty
Contemplate.
and expect to find something.
Yeah, another perspective that I want to add to that
Mm-hmm.
is that it actually could occur within a childhood experience too. Now, I want to mention this because I'm a real advocate of being against physical child rearing for the simple fact that it could create the monster in the future, especially as a man. If we're used to being beaten by either our father or our mother or both parents, and we're accepting that as the normal behavior, that's going to transfer over to when we become adults, and when we become adults, we're going to be resembling that same type of behavior, as I say, the same type of pattern, the same type of control, because we think that's the social norm to do that. That's the normal thing to do that. But it's never good to hit anyone. Period. It's never good to rear your child in that way physically. There are other alternate ways you can do to practice on rearing your child without being physical with them. And I know that this thing is very common, especially in the Black community, that we believe in. A lot of them believe in rearing their child that way, and I'm telling y'all, please don't do that. Please.
And it's an interesting thing. Like, so the language is what stands out for me. And so when you think about the language that you use, right? So there is a difference between beating and there is a difference between physical discipline. And one of the things, like when of course, being mandated reporters is just a part of being a therapist, a doctor, nurse, or whatever, caretakers. You have to encompass the understanding of what these things look like. And we have to be the people that can teach people how to properly deliver physical discipline and how to establish healthy limits, right? And so what that looks like is when a child is being, the way that we determine it to be abused is broken skin. And so bruises, right? Collections of those blood clots or blood under the skin from a bruise that lasts more than 24 hours. Because essentially, if the bruising lasts more than 24 hours, you probably went too far. But the biggest part is this piece. And this is, if you guys never take nothing else from this video, take this. If you feel like your child is a child that can benefit from physical discipline or any other type of discipline, please understand the importance of having a structured and tiered discipline plan and having a structured conversation with them about your expectations and boundaries of your household. If you don't know how to do that, you are 100% free to reach out to me. Send me an email, doclqj@gmail.com. I will give it free, because I am 100% against childhood violence and domestic abuse. Physical abuse against children, emotional abuse against children, and otherwise. Because here's the thing: when you parent, it needs to be from a place of care and pragmatic. Those two together. And I can't wait to finally finish up this book. I'm in the process of writing, but I can't finish it because I got so many things going on, so many moving parts, and I'm in the editing and the revision part of the final component. But when you practice parenting from a pragmatic stance, that means that you are making it make sense every step of the way. That means that you know when to step out and seek additional insight and education into your experience as a parent. That means the child knows what the boundaries, the limits, and the outcomes are before they ever go against the offenses that you have established as boundaries and expectations, et cetera, in your household. Because you posted it, you've listed it in your household. It's not just a verbal conversation, it's a contract, and they know that they're working towards something. So you're generating inside of the child, inside of the mind of the human being that you're responsible for cultivating, because that's what parenting is, just in case you're a little, misconstrued on what parenting actually is. It's you cultivating and shaping another human being. That's what you're doing. And you're cultivating greatness out of this person that hopefully one day will be a naturally contributing and healthy member of society one day. But you do that by way of teaching the types of behaviors that are needed in the society that you're going to push that child out in. That means you're teaching them financial literacy. That's what you can do by having this plan in place. You're teaching them to follow rules and structure and regulations and authority. They have to do that by being law-abiding citizens. You're teaching them to understand that expectations in front of them should guide and structure how they prioritize life. They have to know that in order to establish proper work ethic. And so as you're teaching these things and cultivating these things, understand that that child appreciates it later on in life. And so what I think is the most important thing is this: never discipline a child when you're in a place of emotional reactivity. If your emotions lead anything that you intend to do, whether it's with your child, your spouse, or whomever that you're dealing with, you should take a step back. And those 3 keys that I talked about earlier today.
You take the time out.
Right. Self-regulation. Timeouts are extremely valuable to the process of the human condition and growth and maturation emotionally. So I feel like this has definitely been a really, really good discussion. And I feel like, you know, sometimes we look at a person, we're thinking that they want to control us when they're trying to really shape us. And sometimes we as women have to learn how to allow those men to lead from the position in which they lead, so that we can learn to follow and we can learn to contribute to them in their greatness. They can understand how to better lead us. And I think that when you become that kind of woman, you increase the value of the man that you are attached to. And so that's all I got about that.
And I think for women, you know, who is in terms of this question, who are in situations like that, this is why it's important to have relationships with females, so that you're not alone. Because what the abuser does is he first removes you from all the people in your life who can be important and who can help you through the situation. And when you are by yourself with no one, that's when that's when things get really bad for you. You'll see it. So it's important to have females in your life who you can reach out to. And if you need to go somewhere, if you need to pack a bag and go somewhere, somebody to talk to, somebody to help you figure out what's going on. No, it's my fault. Yes, it's my fault. No, it's not my fault. Somebody who can walk you through those things and help you with an exit plan as well. It's important to have those folks in your life, because you know it's not your fault when someone is beating you. It's not your fault, whether you made a decision to be with that person or not. You didn't go in with the intent of being beaten. No.
And even if you did, you do have the option to get out. Some women do. They come from broken homes, broken places, broken societal norms. And the thing is, like, just because that's what you come from and that's what you came for, doesn't mean that one day you won't emotionally mature out of that situation. So you do definitely still have the option to walk away from them and let them live their best life and teach them how to treat you differently by way of you doing something different, and that's moving yourself from the situation. So but yeah, so that's all I've got. I appreciate my guests for coming on. Thank you guys for hanging on here with us and staying late with us and all that great stuff. I appreciate that. Any outro comments, you guys? You want to give your links or anything like that?
I'm in Atlanta. I am reachable at Sue Stone at ssrecovery.org. I'm still trying to remember my email.
Look at you. Good.
I do couples works, individual and individual counseling, and I also provide supervision for licensed or licensed professionals in the field, in the mental health field. If you're a social worker, a licensed professional counselor, a licensed master's therapist, right?
Marriage and family therapy.
I'm sorry.
Therapist in the house.
Yeah. I provide supervision towards your licensure.
And she's a great supervisor, you guys. So definitely, if you're looking for somebody that's going to come with a wealth of knowledge, education, insight, and theories, that, you know, somebody that can help you align yourself with your epistemology and your theoretical foundation or whatever as a clinician, then I think that you are in great hands if you guys vet services with Sue. Her cultural competency has got to be like through the roof. And I am extremely hard when it comes to judging clinicians on cultural competency, because that's a course that I teach to adult students, adult learners, doctorate level, but also I have a clinician's master class around cultural competency and what it means to really be truly culturally competent in this field. So it's a lot, and I don't judge lightly.
And I work with addictive disorders.
Oh yeah.
I've spent a lot of my career doing that. So if you feel stuck, if you want to make some changes, feel free to reach out to me.
Okay. So urban therapist.
Well, ladies, I appreciate the opportunity to be on your panel tonight, which is it's the morning time, but I enjoy every minute of it, every moment of it. Everyone, I'm known as the official urban therapist. My platform is on Facebook and YouTube, maybe on Instagram. I don't know. I have an Instagram account, but I'll barely be on there. So we're just going to stick to Facebook and YouTube for right now.
I am the official urban therapist. You guys can find me on Google, Doc LQJ Speaks, anywhere. I do have an official audio or auditory podcast, Life Discussions with Dr. Jefferson. I appreciate you guys looking in and listening in and being in the space tonight for this one, though, as well, because I feel like it's definitely needed. So listen to me while you're on the road, while you're thinking, all the good stuff. Listen. I also have another podcast where I'm the author of, called Love and Intimacy. It focuses on sexual relations between people and more intimate relationship building practices between people around communication and other things like that, for people who are in popular culture lifestyle and alternative lifestyle as well. So that's it. Make good choices out there, y'all. Later days.